I think that every foundation that I've ever, volunteered with, they would be more than willing, to work together and work with the government on trying to figure out solutions to these problems. I think that the foundations lack, support from the government, whether it's, financial support or, you know, um, I guess just support in general. I think if everyone could work together, if the government could listen to all the foundations and come up with, a huge, cohesive plan, I think that it would be great. I know that the past prime ministers, Prime Minister Crows, I know she had said, in some reports that I was reading that, eliminating the dogs alone is not the solution. you know, Opening up a kill cage is not the solution. It's not sustainable. The kill cage was open for what, over 40 years, and look at the situation. It's not enough. Prime Minister Aaron, same thing. He was much more, from what I understand, much more proactive in wanting to be less reactive. So, I think that programs like the spay and neuter campaigns could use a lot more support. I think that the foundations, need to be listened to, and they need to be provided with more support. I think that I think especially with, the spay and neuter campaigns, we're not just spaying and neutering people's animals. There's a lot of education that's given. There's a lot of resources that are given. Tie outs for people, teaching them that, this is what happens if they're not sterilized. If you have to feed your dog twice a day, if you don't, this is what they'll do. So I think that there definitely needs to be a lot more collaboration. And I think not just with the government and the foundations, but also, some of the other larger entities on the island, like the farmers. I think that there's some farmers that are completely against working with foundations, from what I've seen and heard. I think that some fraud kind of stuff gets tossed around there, but I don't think there's good knowledge and insight into what exactly it is that we do. I'm just one person, and I have paid thousands and thousands of florins for dogs that have been abused, neglected, abandoned. It's a lot. It's a lot. It's not as clear cut as I think some people see.